Hey there, this is Keenan Fry and you're watching the Acid Drip. So it's been a minute since I've put out an art update. I've been really busy and I wanted to just catch up on some stuff with you guys. First off though, I got to do a quick shout out to an old friend, Jessica Castellanos. Thanks for shooting me a text. It's been a minute since we've talked. It's always nice to hear from you. I hope you're doing all right. I'm glad we still talk. It's good to hear from you, Jess. And then I wanted to do a shout out to JJ. What's up, JJ? I hope you're doing all right. Thanks for watching my videos, and I look forward to seeing you, further down the line. So with that out of the way, I got to talk about some progress I've made. So I've shown you guys the Veritas V before, and the last time I talked about this project, I talked about expanding letters. So when you expand a letter, and I'm just going to very briefly show you in this example over here. So initially when I did the Veritas E, I had expanded partially the letter. So you can see how this section's in green and this section's in red. So they're from two different layers, and the section in green was a section that I accidentally expanded without saving a legacy version. So I'm just going to go over this topic one more time because it's such a pain in the ass that you really got to remember to do this. Otherwise, it's just a nightmare. So when you expand a letter, it's kind of a destructive, so far from what I can tell, a destructive feature. It means that if you expand the letter and save the draft, you cannot unexpand the letter. And what does that mean? So I'm going to just start off by showing you a couple of really simple things. So obviously this guy, I can scale it however I want because it's vector, right? Okay, let's hit Control-Z twice and get it back to normal. Okay, let's look at the Veritas V now. Okay, let's do the same thing here. Okay, now I've got everything selected there. Look, see? Can do the same thing. Can move it around, twist it around, whatever. Okay, that part's simple. We all know all about that. Okay, but let's now look at the difference between an expanded and unexpanded letter. Okay, so going back to the E, I'm going to just zoom in real quick, hit spacebar to grab the page, and I'm just going to navigate. Okay, so what I want you to recognize is that if I zoom in even more so, you can see that this is a line and that it's a stroke going around the line, right? So basically that's the equivalent of taking a ballpoint pen and drawing a line. Pretty simple, common sense sort of thing. Okay, this is where it gets weird. Let's look at the expanded letter. Okay, so let's look at this and super zoom in. Okay, so now we're in a weird situation. We have a line that's in the middle and two that are on either side. So what that's telling me is that this right here, an expanded letter. This is a simpler section to click on. If I click on this, this is really obvious. Let me turn on A. So you can see that there's points on either side. So right here, see, these are all points and they're going along the path. Here, the points are within the path. That's the difference. So what that means is if I go back to the V, if I grab this little guy and move it over, okay, let's just move the thing over. Okay, there it goes. It's a lot to load. It's a big file for the computer to process. It's a tiny little laptop. It's not gonna like me tweaking it around. But see, I totally just changed that line in terms of thickness. Instead of moving the entire line, I just moved one side of it. So what this is saying is it's two lines and the inside is filled. Instead of one line with a stroke, it's two lines with a fill. That's a real pain in the ass because when you want to manipulate a line, it's easier to move one line and not two because the two lines need to stay in ratio to each other to maintain the consistency of the thickness. So when this was drawn as a singular line, it had a 1-point stroke, right? And then I exported it, or not exported it, excuse me, I expanded it, and then it basically became two lines that were 1 point away from each other. And that 1 point of distance was filled with black. Now, you need to expand your file so that you can change the color of the line. And that's just kind of how it goes. If you want to fill the line and then fill the space around it, you have to expand it. You can't do that the other way. So there's limitations to the way you can change the color, in an unexpanded legacy file. I'm calling it a legacy file, the original document. You can't change the colors as drastically, whereas this one you can. And so like there is a reason to expand your file. The thing is though, you want to save a legacy version, and then you want to duplicate the legacy version, and then you want to expand the duplicate. When I made the V, I did not save a legacy version of the V, I just expanded it. And now I have to redraw the whole freaking thing so that I don't have an expanded version, so I have an original version and an expanded version. So it's a bunch of nonsense, it's a total headache. However, this E, going back to the original thing I was trying to show you, if I select everything on here, you can see there's two layers. The green layer was actually a layer where I accidentally expanded part of it, and I retraced that part on a new layer. So what I did was I took the original drawing that was there, and I took the section that was expanded and I locked that layer down, and then I drew the new layer over it and basically traced the expanded part over again. And now I have a completely original legacy file letter E that is unexpanded. And then I made a duplicate of it, and I have the duplicate, and the duplicate is the one that I expanded, and now I have both versions. I can tweak the E, so if I need to change something about it, I can change it and then re-export it or reduplicate it and then expand the duplicate and have another expanded version of the duplicate. So why would you want to change a letter after you've drawn it? Well, here's why. These are the test prints. So this is the big cool new thing, is I have two letters to show you. Last time I showed you this, I was still working on the E. The E is now obviously done, and now I'm just starting the R. But what I have here to show you now are test prints. So I'm going to just kind of hold these up, and then I'll insert into the video exported versions of the image, but obviously with watermarks, because I'm not going to just put my work up without a watermark. You know, that's stupid. So here we go. So this one right here with the green corner is the drawing, because this was literally taped down in my light box, and that's basically how I made it. I drew drafts, I drew iterations of it, and I just taped new pieces of paper over the old ones, traced the parts I liked, didn't copy the parts I didn't like, repaired any mistakes. There's even little notes right here. It says fix. If you go to my Instagram at the acid drip, you can see this particular page scanned in, and you can see like the little notes that say fix, and there's little marks all over this whole thing that connotate where I made an error. And then when I scanned it, it was like I could see where I made mistakes, and I could keep track of that when I was revising it in the computer. So now this is the clean print off. Now obviously it's really hard for you to see. I'm holding it up, you know, you're not going to be able to see a clear difference. Again, I'm going to insert them. What I'm going to do is put them side by side, and you'll see what I'm talking about. You'll be able to compare them. So the thing about this one that I was worried about, and the easiest way to show you is actually with the letter E, because we have it up on the screen right now. So here's the original E, and here's the new E. So this new E is very different from the original E because the lines are tighter, and that's because I can zoom in like crazy deep. I can zoom in 64,000% in Illustrator. Obviously I can't do that in real life. I don't have binocular vision. So by being able to go super deep, I can make really intricate lines. I can make super intricate lines. And the best place I can show you is right here. This area, it looks kind of dark down here, and it's because there's a lot of freaking detail. So we're going to just zoom in on this area. So these lines right here are really close to each other. This section is almost touching each other. It's like practically tangent. If I super zoom in, you can see that there's like this marginal thin white gap. And when I look at the drawing, it basically looks like it's touching. And so what happens is you do a test print, and the test print tells you if, you know, your design works or not. And, you know, I'm looking at my test print, and this is too narrow. It's a problem. It really is an issue. And while I do like having my lines shaped in this manner, because I think it looks good, I need to make them thinner and further away from each other so that it's actually legible. So what you're seeing me do right now in real time in front of you is I'm kind of just tweaking this a little bit. So what you do is, this is why you need the legacy version that I was telling you about, because you can't make these changes with an expanded file because you've got these two lines that you have to keep in ratio to each other. Instead here, I'm just moving one line, and that's super clean and simple. And so like I'm just kind of, if I can actually get the freaking point to move, I'm just kind of moving this thing around, and I'm just sort of pushing it where I want it to be, and I'm kind of just eyeballing it. You know, I'm not really like super mathematical about it. I'm just kind of like looking for where I feel like it looks good, like, you know, is it where I want it to be? And then what I'm doing really is I'm going in and giving myself a little bit more space so I can make this arch right here, the one that I'm tweaking, this arch right here, a little bit wider. So I can make this arch a little bit wider. So I can make this arch a little bit wider. So I can make this one just a teeny bit wider. And now when I zoom out, there's a very clear gap right there. And that's really useful because that tells me even when it's zoomed out at 200%, let's go down to about 100%. See, you can't even see it. It'll come off really neat and clean on the print off, but you won't even see it accurately represented on the screen. That's 100% on the screen. So that's what it looks like on a piece of paper. So it's like, you know, I'm gonna just grab the camera. I apologize. This might irritate you, but look, see, here's the screen and here's my original. So there they both are next to each other, right? So the screen resolution isn't perfect. So you have to actually print the damn thing off and compare the test print to what you see on the screen. And then when you have the test print in your hand and you're like, okay, I know what it looks like, I know what it came out as, you know, you get like a little red pen and you kind of circle the areas where you feel like you need more room to make your line work more legible. And then what you do is you make those changes, obviously, and you fix the problem. But you can't do that with an expanded file because it's just too hard to manipulate the line around. I mean, you could, but it'd be like 3 or 4 times as time consuming. That's the whole point right there, talking about expanding and keeping a legacy copy and doing like test prints and such. You do it that way so that you can fix it as you're, you know, checking your drafts. So like, even though this is like the traced version, this is still maybe 95% done. There's a few little tweaks that I have to do, and I have to like really stare at this and look at it, you know, and then like a day later look at it again and just keep looking at it and checking it, you know, because I literally just printed this off. This is the first time I've actually looked at the test print. So I have to like kind of look at it, let it sit for a few days and think about it, and then come back and look at it again. And when I do that and I feel like I've gone through that process enough times and I've made enough corrections, then I would say that the letter's finalized. So even if you've traced the damn thing and you've got it, you know, ironed out for the most part, you still have to, you know, you still have to check it. So it's a lot of tedious work, but yeah. So the next step is to get all the Veritas letters done. So I've drawn all the letters in the word Veritas, and now I'm just tracing them. And then I have 16 of the 26 letters of the alphabet complete, and I'm just wrapping up the last 10. And then I have to basically make the lowercase versions of my font, which is going to take some amount of work. That's where I'm at right now with this project. I got one other thing to show you. So I did this next thing I did yesterday. Yes, okay, here it is. So this is, I don't really know how to pronounce the guy's name. It's Genndy Tarkowski. He's the guy who did Samurai Jack, Dexter's Laboratory, the Powerpuff Girls, and Symbionic Titan. He even worked on the original Batman from the late 80s or whatever. It was like 89 or something like that was when the original Batman cartoon came out. Or something like it was like 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, something like that were the years that Batman cartoon was out or whatever. And so he's a really famous cartoonist, obviously, highly influential on me. So I have a friend named Jess with one S, out in South Carolina, and she offered to cross stitch something for me. There's my version of Samurai Jack. It's very much simplified, sort of. The whole purpose was so that the negative space would be separated by red. So you've got white and black, you've got the skin tone of the samurai, you've got the skin tone of the horse, and then you've got like a weird kind of flesh tone accent on his face, and then you have the brown on his robe, shoes, and horse hair, and then you've got the gold for the reins of the horse. So there's 7 colors. I think I said there was 6 initially, but there's actually 7. So I was really trying to keep the color palette really simple, because obviously something like this, there's like a million colors, and like obviously he scribbled over it to make it look like dynamic, like, you know, there's energy and movement and he's like charging at you, because obviously like a really still image like the one I produced here, it's cool, but it's not very interesting. It's not stylized. It doesn't have a lot of like dynamic to it. It's just, you know, a guy riding a horse. But this thing is like way cooler. The problem is you can't cross stitch something like that. It's too complicated, and the process is like ultimately impossible. So Jess is going to make a cross stitch of this and send it to me, and then I'm going to stitch it onto my Jimi Hendrix jacket over there. And when I get it in the mail, you know, I'll post a video, I'll stitch it on and show you guys what it looks like at the end. So yeah, also I guess a shout out to Jess for offering to make me a really cool cross stitch patch. Thanks, Jess. So yeah, I guess that's everything going on right now with me. Yeah, so check back in a couple of weeks, because I will have finished the entire alphabet in terms of drawing it. And what I will do is make a slideshow of all the letters, and I will make a slideshow of each iteration and how I got from, you know, the furthest draft to the latest draft, you know, the earliest to the most recent, and I'll show you how I went through my iterative process. And yeah, so that'll be one of the next art updates. And then pretty soon I'm going to start doing more practice videos. I haven't done any guitar practice videos in a while, because I was practicing the same songs for a long time, and that's really good for polishing a song and really like tightening up the nuts and bolts. I'm pretty sure that that's a little boring for you guys to watch. 15 videos of me practicing the same like 4 or 5 Lamb of God songs seems pretty mind-numbing, even to me. I'm doing some Allman Brothers, some Blind Melon, more Doobie Brothers, so that will all be coming up in the next couple of weeks as well. School is wrapping up. I'm going to be, you know, free for summer, and I'm going to be doing a ton of project work. You're going to see a lot of stuff get produced over the summer. I'm really excited for that. I'm going to go hardcore, and I'm going to try and put out like 3 videos a week. And, you know, I'm going to be out on vacation for about a month's worth of the time. So really like hardcore 6-7 weeks where I can just produce nonstop. I think I can easily make like 18 to 20 videos in that span of time. I'll be hitting the 100 video mark sometime this summer. I'm like 80 something right now. Just gonna keep hammering out content. So I really appreciate you guys sticking around. I know that things have been a little bit sparse lately, but that's because I've been lining up all these other projects, and I've been trying to kind of like get myself organized and just really get everything together for the summer, so that I can knock a bunch of things down at once. And yeah, you know, so thanks for sticking around, and this is the Acid Drip. See you next time.